Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome back. My name is Val. If you're new, today is going to be a little bit different. It's maintenance day. So the projects on the list for today are overseeding clover in some of the you can see some of the little patches there. And I want to fill those in. So we're going to lay some seed today. We're going to do that. I'm also probably going to pull up the beans and plant the garlic. I think that's it for today, but let's see how much I can get done. It's a beautiful day, but it's getting cooler. Fall is here. But it's a perfect day to be out working in the garden when you don't get too hot. And the sun isn't too bad. All right, let's jump in. We'll see how much we can get done. All right, so in terms of tools I need to use for this task, it's a rake, but like a metal rake, right? So it's not one of those flexible ones that you use to rake leaves. And that's just to rough up the soil a little bit. And then I've got my extra seed, and it's white clover. And I just have some extra soil here that I'm going to sprinkle on top of it just so that they don't go flying or that the wind doesn't blow them away. So let's get to it. I'll show you one from beginning to end, and then I'll finish the project, finish the little patches myself later. So let's get going. So first thing is basically just roughing up the soil. Just like that. This is obviously easier if it's rained a little bit, but as most of you know, or if you don't, we live in Nova Scotia. We've had a drought pretty much all summer. So moisture is not happening. And we've been, pretty selective in what we're watering. I water the garden, the vegetable garden, but pretty much anything else I just rely on Mother Nature. I'm just opening my little bag of seed here. Okay. And there are tons of seeds in here. Let me see if I can give you a close up. And a little goes a long way. I only have this much left. But that's going to be plenty. And all you do is just sprinkle it around. Just a little. And they spread. These little clover plants spread pretty easily. Here. Just make sure I've got kind of an even spread. And that is it for this spot. Close this up. And then all I'm going to do is just sprinkle some soil over top. And this is just so that the wind doesn't pick up the seeds. We've never had issues with birds eating these seeds, probably because they're so tiny. And that's pretty much it, you guys. And then what we'll do, let me show you what else I have to do here. All right, so I've got like a little bit there that could warrant some extra seed. I've got a couple of patches in the front here. And then there's quite a large one. Oh, there's one here. So I'll do this one too. And then this one, quite a bit here. So you know what, I'm probably going to do this one next to make sure I have enough seed to cover this, and then do the rest of it. But the rest of the clover lawn came in pretty nicely. All right, so let me get going. And we're expecting rain tonight, so normally I would water this in, just like a light sprinkle. And you don't have to water clover the same amount that you would grass seed. So I'm waiting for the rain tonight to water that all in, but for now, I'll just get all the seed in. And that'll be the first project of the day. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Back in a bit. All right, so I am done. What I did was scraped up all the little patches that didn't have any clover. I scattered all the seeds. I finished the remainder of the bag that I had. And then I went through and just scattered some soil on top of all the patches, just to make sure that the seeds don't fly away. Let me show you this one over here, the big one. So this is, and it's not like an even layer of soil. It's just scattering it around. Let me see if you can see. Let's see if you can see any of the seeds in there. Hold on, I'm going to try to find a spot. Here's one. Okay, Hold on. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. So there's seeds here with just a scattering of soil on top of it. And now, because it's so dry, I'm almost tempted to water it just for the first time and then wait for the rain to take over. And then what needs to happen now for this to take root is moisture over the next 10 days. So I kind of waited for there to be rain in the forecast to be able to do that, to at least take on some of the work instead of me hand watering, because we're trying to avoid that. But I think what I'll do is just give it a quick water just to settle everything in, the seeds, the soil on top of it, and then let nature do its thing. Mother Nature. All right, so I'm going to do that, and then I'll meet you over there, and we're going to pull up some bean plants. Be back in a bit. And I figured I'd show you how much I actually water. I've already watered everything. You can see that they're a little bit darker, but just to show you how much water I just sprayed. And it's not like grass, right? You don't need to completely saturate it. So if we look at this spot right here, let me zoom out a bit. All right. So this, to water clover in, and then every day for the next 10 days, it's a matter of just wetting it. That's it. Because what you don't want to do is add too much water so that it runs off, because then your seeds are going to run off into places where you don't actually want them to go. So super quick, like not a lot at all. That's it. And it's just enough to wet it so that the seeds sink into the soil. The soil that you sprinkled on top of it sticks, and then that's pretty much it. It's not a difficult job. Slightly tedious, but not difficult at all. And then over the next 10 days, the seeds should germinate. And then probably in about a month, we're going to start to see these patches fill up and look like back there, which is awesome. All right, let's go tackle the beans. All right, so clover's done. Next task is pulling up the beans. And I'm sure there's some in there that we're going to harvest. So we're going to do that. And I'm hoping, the goal is I need to get my garlic in. So I'm pulling up the beans so that I can plant the garlic in this bed. So let's get started. Sorry for the, I'm hot. I get sweaty when I garden. So we're going to start on that. And then let me show you what I brought with me. All right, so I've got my yard waste bag because I'm going to put them all in there. I do not have a compost pile. It is what it is, guys. I have my gloves. I have my clippers. Because sometimes the beans, they're tight around the teepee, so I have to snip things along the way. And I have a bowl for any beans that I'm going to be harvesting. And I already see a couple. Like I see some here, so I know that there's going to be some in there. There's probably going to be some buried in the middle there that I've either dried on the vine, and I'll keep those and dry them so that I can use them next year to plant more beans. All right, so let me get the hammer set up, and I'll take you along for this one. This one can be a little tedious, fighting with the teepees and the vines because they're pretty tough. So give me a second, I'll set up the camera and then we'll go to town. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to harvest as many as I can. See this, just to give myself a bit of a head start. This. And technically I could probably leave these on a bit longer, but there's some cool nights coming, and I'd rather do this job while it's still warm during the day, so that I'm not freezing. Not that it's a long job, but there's enough to do that it's more comfortable without all the layers on. Okay, so then what I'll do, and I'll just start snipping as I go. Oh, let me get the yard waste bag. That's one thing I forgot to do. It's not windy today, which is also good, so my bag won't tip over every 5 minutes. If you know, you know. Alright, and there is no need to be, check for beans. No need to be gentle with this process, just wipe them out. And I've tried all kinds of different ways to make this simpler. This is the easy part, getting all the loose vines. It's when you try to unravel the ones that are on the teepee that it gets a little tricky. I usually, I'll take off the teepee, the string and the tie wrap. I'll try to do that last and try to grab as much as possible that are, that come off easily before I get to. For beans in case there's some on there. I'm sure I'm gonna find some. They sneak in there, and even though I've been harvesting like every few days, I still find like giant beans that have been hiding the whole time and are now completely overgrown. She's fun. They're sneaky. And well, the other reason why I'm not too upset about cutting the beans, maybe a little bit earlier than I probably could, is that the peas are starting to come in, and we've had a lot of beans. I'm kind of looking forward to something new in the diet, shall we say. In there now. Alright. Progress. Again, this isn't a difficult job, but it's one of those things you just have to do at the end of the season. And fall has a lot of these types of little maintenance jobs. Like it's one of those things you just gotta do it. Alright, so this one, we're almost done here with this teepee. And now at the end here, you gotta pull them out of the ground. It is a plant after all. And they usually come up easy like that. See? Easy peasy. Let's see. Any beans in here? No. I did harvest some yesterday, I think it was. I won't clean the bed just yet. I'll do that once I get the teepees out. It'll be easier to do. All right. Let's do this side. And if I can do it this way and unravel it, I will. But sometimes it's not as easy to do. Yeah. That went easier than I thought. And nope, it's not coming up, so I'm just going to cut it. And technically you could leave the roots in the bed. It'll just add nutrients back into the soil. Isn't a bad thing. Alright, 2 done. Oh, there's a lot of beans on this one. It's all good. We'll get to it. Yeah, I've always grown pole beans. I think I tried bush beans one year, and where I just had like a 4x4. That was my very first square foot, raised bed. And And it was exciting. What is happening here? And it was exciting for my first beans. I didn't get a whole lot of them. I only had about, I don't know, in a square foot it was about 4 plants or 9 plants. I don't remember. But then when I tried pole beans for the first time, you just get a whole lot more. There's more pole beans typically. You get one big harvest. At one time. And then with pole beans, like they just keep going. They're vines, right? And they just keep producing. The more you pick, the more they produce. So in terms of bang for your buck, if you've got the space for it, which at that point, when I first started, when I tried pole beans, I had more space. I had, I think I was up to 4 beds at that point. You start with one, guys, but then it quickly turns into, oh, this one's tough too. I'm just going to cut it. It quickly turns into, it's exponential. All right, I'm just checking for beans if there's any little stragglers in here. I don't see any. All right. Okay, and last one on this teepee. Yeah, so by the time I had the space to try pole beans, after that first season, man, I was hooked, just because of how much they produce over the course of one season. This one's tougher to get around. I'm just going to cut it, and I'll do it in several steps. These in here? No. And I've tried, these were scarlet runner beans, the ones with the red flowers, which was really pretty, but it didn't produce as many as the Blue Lake. I've grown Blue Lake since the very beginning. I've tried, let me see, tried Kentucky Wonder, Blue Lake, Contender, but Blue Lake has been, at least for me, I garden in Nova Scotia, Zone 6, and for me, the Blue Lake has always been a real producer and done really well. The other thing is that once you grow them, keep a few beans, let them either grow on the vine or dry on the vine, or just keep some, don't eat them, and let them dry even on your counter in the pantry, wherever, so that you can use those beans for next year. I'm also going to take the marigold out. I'm not going to use this guy anymore. I plant marigolds for bug deterrent, for pest deterrent, and I find that they really work. Like I've never had. I feel like they do well for hornworm. I think I've seen one hornworm in my whole gardening life, which is like 15 years. And I've always grown marigolds in my beds, along with my veggies. And whether or not that's just luck, or that the marigolds are actually, it's actually true. Leave it in there. Okay, that's teepee number 1. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to dismantle this teepee and show you how I do that, and then I'll tackle the other one. All right, first thing, you have to cut the string, which is what keeps the teepees together, partly. One is the string, one is the zip tie. I think I mentioned this in the video where I built these teepees. I bought these zip ties. I bought a whole bag years ago when I first started with the teepees, which was like, I don't know, 2000 and I want to say 2013. So a long time ago. I've had the same bag. I bought the whole bag, and I use like 2 of these per year for this purpose, and I don't use them for any other purpose in the house. Anyway, it's pretty funny. My lifetime supply of zip ties is for my bean teepees. And if you're patient enough to do what I'm doing right now, I don't think I'm going to need this. You can unravel it the same way that you had put it together, or you can just slide these out. It's faster if you do it this way. If they cooperate, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it gets too tight at the bottom. We'll see. This one seems to be working well. Don't fight me. Now it's gonna make a liar out of me. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Well, that's not. They're not sharp. I have to get sharp. I have to sharpen my tools, clearly. Okay, well that loosened it enough to get them off. Okay, that's one. It's easier to do that than to unravel all of the string. It gets easier as it goes. Oh, this is the one I tied, so this one I have to cut. My very first, I tie the very first one at the bottom now. Whether I'm going to be able to, maybe I can undo it? Yeah, it's loose enough that I can just untie it. Alright, that's 2. And it's not like they're going to fall, they're pretty steady in the soil, because they went pretty far down. Alright, that's 3. And these are just your bamboo. These are 6 feet. I'm 5'11", so they're about 6 feet tall. You could buy a pack for they're only like a couple of bucks at your garden center, hardware store. I think I got these at Home Depot back in the day. What is happening here? Oh boy. That's not happening. We're going to have to cut that, I think. But anyway, I can do that later. Okay. Next one. Now I'm seeing a lot of beans. They're not fully ripe yet, but I'm still going to pick them to eat them. They'll just be young beans. They're still going to taste good. later. Yeah, sometimes I'll reuse the string for other things. Depends if it's torn apart, but it's usually pretty good. So, in terms of harvest, the last harvest of beans is actually pretty good. This, which I'll move out of the way. I'm going to clean up all of this, prepare this bed, and plant the garlic. I still have to, I bought the garlic bulbs that I'm going to use. I still have to take them apart and prep this bed and then plant them all. So what I've done, I bought some Russian red. I'll use partly store-bought, which is probably going to be about 50 cloves, I think. There's about 80 that would fit in a bed like this. This is a 2x8. And then I'll use some of the garlic that we harvested last year. Not last year, but in July. This summer. To fill in the rest of the space. And this will be our garlic bed this year. So in terms of the beds that gave us issues this year with the soil problem were the ones that we added this year, which are that one, which peas grow in anything, so that's why they're actually doing okay. The two at the far end, the two at that end, which was potatoes and onions, radishes, lettuce over there, and tomatoes, which also had an issue, if you'll recall. And this was melon. What was before the melon? I don't remember. It seems so long ago now. But anyway, so I'm gonna make sure to plant the garlic in a bed where that's been there for a while. And I just take out the worst of the leaves and stuff. Technically, I could leave them in here, but I like starting with a fresh bed, just so that I know what I planted versus what what nature decided to give me for free. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean all this up. I have to get my garlic ready, which essentially is just taking it apart from the bulbs, because we're planting the cloves in. And I think that's it. So that's one extra job done. You've done the clover, you've done the beans. Garlic is next. I have some prep to do. So we'll pause it there for now until I get organized, and then I'll be back. We're going to plant some garlic. And in terms of the timing, I'm in zone 6 right now. What day is it? October 20th? I usually do it anytime after Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Remembrance Day, depending on the weather. You just want it to be cool enough over the next little while. Even if they sprout before the end of the year, before the spring, they typically handle that with no issue. I say that the Russian red has been no problem. If they sprout next spring, they grow through the winter, or they're dormant and they survive. But when last year I planted Russian red and Siberian, and the Siberian did not like that at all. We had a worm snap in November last year, and they all sprouted. The Russian red did as well, but the Siberian just never recovered. They never survived the winter after that. So I didn't buy that variety this year. I just went back to my tried and true Russian red. We're going to do that again this year. And I'm probably about a week later than I usually plant. But the forecast looks good. Temps overnight are going to go into the single digit Celsius. So over the next couple of weeks, so that should be fine. Anywho, let me clean all this up, get my garlic ready, and I'll meet you back here, and we're going to plant some garlic. Okay, so my bed is cleaned up. I did a little bit of cleanup around it from the beans and the leaves and stuff that had fallen. I prepared the garlic. So this is the garlic that I purchased from the garden center. It's all Russian red. There was actually more than I thought. So there's about 70 cloves in there. And then I just grabbed about 10 of the garlic that I harvested, also Russian red, from the garden in July. So now I'm going to plant everything in this bed. And then I'm going to keep an eye on these ones to see how they do next year compared to the store-bought. They're a little bit bigger. Some of them are smaller. Some of them are bigger than the cloves that I grew. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm probably going to do one row of mine and then the rest with this. So let's get going. And essentially, here, I'll take you along. You basically put, this is where the roots normally come out. So you put the pointy end up, and I don't dig holes or anything. I just go and stick it in as far as it'll go, and up until, kind of see where the little tip is. And then I'll cover them later. I'll leave them uncovered so I know where I'm at. And then I'll just do all of those. I usually put about 6 inches apart, so I'll probably put the next one here. It's enough so that the bulb, depending on how big it grows, has enough room to do that. And that's pretty much it. This bed is 2 by 8, so I can fit about 80-ish cloves in here. So I'm just going to get started. I'll show you what it looks like at the end. All right, it's all planted. Now let me show you what I did. So basically, most of the bed is the store-bought, and then I did this first row here of mine up until this marker. This is all store-bought. So I'm just going to leave this here. I'll leave it out over the winter, and it's just as an indicator to me to know that that's where I stopped, and this first row here is my garlic, and the rest is store-bought. So that'll be interesting to do. We'll experiment this year and see how things turn out. All right, I'm going to cover the holes. I am planning on putting a layer of compost. I'm probably going to do that this fall in the next few days, I would say, next time I go into town and pick up some compost. But then that's it, and then it'll stay in there till next spring. It may or may not sprout before the end of the year. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I've had good success if it does it either way with the Russian red. It's a pretty cold hardy variety, and it's done well for me. And that's pretty much it. And I think that is it for all of the tasks I wanted to do today. And now I'm tired. I'm going to take a break. Thanks for joining me on my maintenance day. And I hope you're having as much fun as I am in your garden doing some fall maintenance and some fall tasks. All right. Happy gardening, everybody.